My family saw me as a bank, not a daughter. But I'm Sophia, 47, who built Santa Fe's Luminos Gallery from nothing over 8 years, every canvas proof of my precision. People call me a symbol of grace and resilience, yet in Albuquerque, where my mother and sister live, their house strips me invisible, a place I once called family. I hadn't returned there in nearly 3/4 of a year, not because I was too busy, but because I knew exactly what would be waiting behind that cedar door. December in Albuquerque carries the scent of pinyon and faint snow, but as I stepped onto the porch, all I could smell was the familiar weight of unspoken expectations and the tightening in my chest. My mother opened the door, her smile arriving right on cue, but her eyes, they remained the same, void of warmth. Sophia, still wearing all dark colors, huh? You know there are tones that make you look more alive, she said, kissing the air near my cheek, her hand smoothing the shoulder of my blouse like I was a rough draft in need of fixing. I gave a polite smile. Hi, Mom. My father was already at the dinner table, eyes glued to his plate of grilled salmon like it was solving world hunger, not a word, not a glance. And then there was Olivia, my younger sister, stretched out on the sofa, her loose curls spilling over silk pillows, wearing a shimmering amethyst dress that clung to her narrow frame. One hand held a beet smoothie, the other a phone mid-selfie, with flash bouncing off her cheek. Oh, you finally made it. I thought you were off the grid for another few months doing desert painting, Olivia said, as if commenting on the weather, not welcoming her own sister. I sat across from her, took a deep breath to steady myself. The table was set with our mother's best china, usually reserved for holidays or what she called constructive conversations. I should have caught the hint. Dinner began with suffocating stillness. Mom complimented the weather, Dad mumbled something about utility bills, and Olivia live-streamed part of the meal, carefully angling her camera to avoid showing me. I should have walked out then. But I stayed. I thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe they actually wanted me there because they missed me. Olivia set down her glass and stood up, raising her wine like a press conference mic. My 32nd birthday is next week, she declared, her eyes sweeping the room like a spotlight. And I've decided to throw a gallery-themed bash. Think Manhattan with a touch of Santa Fe chic? I paused mid-bite, waiting for the inevitable, and then a game. Estimated cost is around $110,000. 0 cents, but don't worry, she beamed. You've got it covered. I mean, it's not like you ever spend money on anything fun anyway. My mother tilted her head, her smile drawn on like pencil. You've been given so much, Sophia. Sometimes giving back is just a way to show gratitude. I looked at my father. He kept eating, not a word. That was the moment I realized I wasn't family. I was an emotional, financial, and tolerance bank. I set my fork down. My chest turned to stone, and I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the overture to a performance they assumed I'd still quietly play along with. I drove back to my apartment in silence, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My mother's voice echoed in my head. You've been given so much, Sophia. Sometimes giving back is just a way to show gratitude. I had spent my entire youth building a career, an empire of culture from scratch. I'd survived financial collapses, sleepless nights over exhibition layouts and acquisition deals, mornings of back-to-back artist meetings and nights of relentless pressure. And now their version of gratitude was a demand to fund a party hadn't even been allowed to refuse. I parked outside my adobe building, stepped into the elevator, and leaned against the frosted glass wall. Not one message from my mother, not one call from my father after that dinner. And Olivia? She didn't even glance back when I left the table. The next morning, I arrived early at the office. Santa Fe was still half asleep, but I was already in my ivory blazer, hair pinned back, clutching a black coffee. Mara, my operations director, was already there, holding a folder and looking at me with quiet concern. Everything okay? Mara asked gently, her sharp eyes never missing a shift in my expression. I gave a small smile, setting my bag down. Family, Mara nodded, asking nothing further. She understood better than anyone. We were reviewing the exhibition calendar for the upcoming month when my phone buzzed. I froze at the caller ID. Olivia. I hesitated, then answered. Are you busy? Her voice had that lazy, spoiled tone like she had just rolled out of bed. I'm in a meeting. What is it? I need you to approve my birthday budget, she said lightly, like she was ordering extra frames for her studio. The birthday party in Taos, remember? I sent you the full breakdown in an email. Everything's already planned, you just have to sign off. I opened the email. There it was. Event plan. Olivia's 32nd with a 3-page itemized budget. A 2-day party, private rooftop, curated cocktails, a curator flown in from Chicago, fireworks, limousine service from the airport. The total? Nearly $115,000, 0 cents. I read each line slowly, trying to grasp why she thought this was normal. And then the last line hit me like ice water. Sponsorship. Sophia Bennett. Confirmed by parents. My grip on the phone tightened, the cold from my hand crawling up my arm. I never agreed to fund any part of this, I said, voice steady and low. No need to be so uptight, Olivia said with a hint of a smirk. You're not married, no kids, no one to worry about but yourself. Mom said it's time you shared a little. I didn't respond. Her words fell like tiny shards of glass, cold and cutting. You get it, right? She added sweetly. You're the responsible one. You're the chosen one. I hung up without another word. Less than an hour later, I got an email from my mother. Subject: family love. The body was a long paragraph sprinkled with thank yous for my constant sacrifices, compliments on my success, and ended with a message that sealed it all. You're the pride of this family, and Olivia, she just wants one special day in her life. Don't make it harder for her, Sophia. I stared at the screen, feeling as heavy as stone. No one had asked if I wanted to be involved. No one thought I had the right to say no. They didn't wait for my answer. They had already assumed I'd say yes. They didn't need me to show up, just my signature and my bank account. That evening, I sat alone in my terracotta-tiled kitchen, warm golden light casting a soft glow over my glass of red wine. I opened an old photo on my phone. They were all beaming, so was I, but now I saw it clearly. I was the only one not leaning on anyone. I used to think success would make them see me differently, but no, to them I was always the fixer, the fallback when bills piled up and dreams needed funding. This time, I wasn't sure they were ready for the answer no. I was at the office, eyes skimming through emails like they might lift the pressure squeezing at my temples, when Mara walked in, holding her phone, face tense. You need to see this, she said, handing it to me. I took it and looked at the screen. A video posted a few hours ago on Olivia's Instagram, filmed from inside a car as she drove past my house in Santa Fe. The old 1920, as Daffy looked lonely under the stigma of, with weathered tiles, a cactus-lined patio, and beige stucco walls worn with time. Olivia's voice rang out, sweet and laced with sarcasm. This is my sister Sophia Bennett's secret hideaway. The gallery queen herself, who would have thought, right? Living in a house straight out of a Western novel. She giggled. Maybe she's going for the mysterious recluse look, or is this part of a disguise show? Laughter came from the back, clearly her new boyfriend, someone I hadn't met. Below the video were hundreds of comments. Wait, secret millionaire and lives like that? That house looks dated. Classic art snob who doesn't know how to enjoy it. Maybe she's saving money for that $110 0 cents K birthday bash. I couldn't tell what upset me more. The mocking tone in Olivia's voice, the snide laughter from strangers, or the feeling of being dragged into a spotlight I never consented to. I set the phone down and sat silently for a few seconds. You okay? Mara asked, her voice low. I nodded, though fury simmered just beneath my skin, not because of the criticism, not because my own flesh and blood was the one who handed me over for ridicule. Olivia hadn't just crossed a line. She'd torn it down completely. I sat there for a long time afterward, watching sunlight dance through the blinds, scattering golden shapes across the wooden floor. I had chosen that old house because it gave me peace, because I didn't need a mansion to feel full, but now that simplicity had been turned into public amusement. I opened Olivia's Instagram again. She was still posting stories, footage from her gown fitting, Zoom calls with her curator, snapshots of a 4-tier silver-trimmed cake sample. Everything seemed finalized and, Of course, still assumed to be funded by me. Not a single message asking what I thought, how I felt, just silence and expectation. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to Luminos Gallery, walked slowly through the polished oak lobby where the skylight glowed softly like afternoon sun. I sat in the second-floor conference room, opened my laptop, and created a new folder, Olivia_personal. I started collecting every story, every screenshot, every notable comment, organized into separate subfolders. I wasn't doing it out of anger. I was doing it because, for the first time in years, I saw it clearly. I had let them define my worth for far too long, and I wouldn't let it continue another day. The next morning, as I entered my office, Mara was already waiting, holding a cream-colored envelope stamped by a major Denver event firm. "This came in for you this morning, sender Olivia Bennett via her manager." I opened it. Inside was a venue deposit contract for the birthday party. My name was listed under financially responsible party, no signature from me, but a neatly typed line, "Verbal semestical inventorment Sophia." I looked at Mara. "She thinks I won't check." "She thinks I'll keep tolerating it," Mara said, like always. I didn't answer. I just nodded, then picked up my phone and typed a message. "I am not sponsoring any of your events. Take the video down immediately or risk a complaint for unauthorized filming, and do not send any more contracts under my name. Your sister no longer cleans up your messes." I hit send, then powered off the phone. 3 days after I sent that message to Olivia, no one responded. No apology, no explanation. I figured they finally realized I meant it this time. Then, on Wednesday morning, just as I arrived at the office, the receptionist informed me my mother was waiting in the lobby. No appointment. She had never been here before, not once in the 8 years I'd built Luminos Gallery. I stood inside the conference room, looking through the glass. My mother sat stiffly in a high-backed leather chair, hands folded neatly over her taupe designer purse. She looked like she was waiting for a lawyer, not her daughter. I signaled Mara to open the door. "Sophia?" My mother smiled, but it wasn't a warm, motherly smile. It was rehearsed, just warm enough to pass without masking the urgency behind her eyes. "You're surprised," I said, polite but cool. "Yes, I know," she replied, standing. "I thought it was time we spoke directly instead of letting misunderstandings fester." I invited her into my office. Mara shut the door, and the air inside thickened with something hard to name. Not quite tension, not quite peace. My mother placed her purse down, then pulled out a folder in a leather sleeve. I recognized the type. Not handwritten or printed at home. This was a professionally bound contract-style document. "I think you should take a look at this," she said, voice steady. I opened the folder. In front of me was the detailed budget, Olivia Bennett's 30-second Celier identicode, and at the bottom, highlighted in blinding yellow, "Primary sponsor, Sophia Bennett, confirmed via third party." I looked up. "What third party?" "I've been coordinating with the event team," she replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "And, there's another document I need you to sign." She took out another envelope, this time from Carver & Stone, a law firm I knew represented. I flipped through the pages, and in the financial clause, one line chilled me. "In the event the primary party, Olivia Bennett, fails to complete payment, financial responsibility will be automatically transferred to the designated sponsor, Sophia Bennett, including all event costs, contract penalties, and applicable legal fees." "I haven't signed anything," I said, voice low but firm. "But I confirmed it," she said casually, like she was talking about reserving a lunch table. "You're the only one who can afford it. And you know Olivia, she's still finding her footing." I stood, gently pushing my chair back. "You want me to be legally responsible for an event I wasn't even invited to plan?" "Sophia, don't be dramatic," she softened her tone. "You've always been the reliable one. Everyone trusts you. I trust you." "No, you don't trust me," I said. "You trust my ability to pay." She paused, then sighed. "You don't need to act like this is a betrayal. We're family. We help each other." I closed the folder and placed it neatly in front of her. "Helping doesn't mean being manipulated." She stared at me. Something in her eyes shifted, no longer soft, but laced with frustration and disappointment. "You've changed," she said. "You've become cold." I smiled faintly. Not cold, Mom, just clear-headed. She didn't say another word, just stood up, straightened her coat. I hope you'll reconsider. Olivia's really looking forward to it. I didn't walk her out. Mara was already waiting in the hallway when the door closed. She sat down, hands resting on the desk, still warm from my untouched. I used to believe that if I were kind enough, worked hard enough, my family would truly see me. But they didn't. To them, I was still the fixer. I glanced at the contract again, then filed it into a plastic folder labeled Evidence. Financial coercion. I wouldn't sign, not this time, not ever again. 2 days after the meeting with my mother, on a misty afternoon, I was reviewing the end-of-year exhibition calendar when Mara walked in, visibly irritated. "You need to see this morning's camera footage," she said, voice lower than usual. "North Gallery." I looked up, her eyes warning me without delay. I opened the security system, selected the designated area. The screen came to life, footage from early morning, a group entering the main lobby led by Olivia, her wavy auburn hair fluttering in the A/C breeze, a bright teal dress hugging her figure, high heels tapping on the polished concrete floor. Behind her were 3 people, an event assistant, a cameraman, and a stylist. No appointment on record, no calls, no emails, no permission. I watched silently as Olivia pointed toward a set of display walls being arranged for an afternoon collector's preview. "This looks dull," she announced loudly. "I requested natural lighting, and this feels like a corporate office." Javier, our new exhibit manager, politely explained that the space had been reserved. He hadn't finished his sentence when Olivia waved him off. "It doesn't matter, this is my sister's gallery. I'm sure we can be flexible, right?" I focused on Javier's face, caught between unreasonable demands and his sense of duty. Olivia walked over to the preview samples for tomorrow's sculpture showcase, handcrafted pieces from a renowned artisan. Without asking, she touched one, examined it, then grimaced. "Too abstract. Who approved this?" The footage continued. She circled the gallery, waved for mock-ups to be removed, demanded alternate lighting options, even called for a complete change of wall textures, none of which had been scheduled or booked. Switching to a side camera, I saw her filming a TikTok captioned, "Scouting the perfect venue for my birthday bash at my sister's super fancy gallery." She twirled, smiled at the camera, and whispered, "We're going to remodel everything, don't worry." I shut the laptop and looked at Mara. "She thinks I won't find out," Mara said. "No, Olivia knows I will. She just didn't think I'd do anything." I stood, walked to the file cabinet, and pulled out a folder I'd started the week prior, when things began to cross the line, labeled Unauthorized Behavior, Internal. I opened my laptop, uploaded the footage to a subfolder titled Evidence, every minute, every word, every expression clear and indisputable. "I want you to contact legal," I told Mara. "Have them review all usage regulations and flag any commercial filming done without written consent." Mara nodded, jotting it down swiftly. "And one more thing," I continued, voice steady. "Have security tighten gallery access from now on. No one enters without a scheduled appointment, family included." Mara pressed her lips together. "Do you want me to send a warning to Olivia?" I shook my head. "No, let her think everything's still under control. I don't need a warning, I need action." That evening, I didn't go home early like I usually did. I stayed late in the office, eyes fixed on the exhibition calendar glowing on the screen. During Olivia's birthday week, the gallery had already been booked by a foundation for an emerging artist showcase. I smiled. Olivia thought she was playing on my turf, but forgot I didn't just have keys. I laid every beam, and from this moment forward, everything she touched would leave a trace I would use as evidence. That morning, Santa Fe was drenched in sunlight, the light reflected off the courtyard fountain at the entrance of Luminos Gallery, where the ancient pines whispered something old in the breeze. I stood before the mirror in my upstairs office, fingers adjusting the charcoal blazer buttons. Not glamorous, not overdone. Just me, sharp, composed, no performance necessary. Mara walked in without knocking, our eyes meeting in the reflection. "Their car just arrived," she said. "Everything ready?" I asked. Mara nodded. "Every detail." I exhaled softly. "Good. Then let the show begin." Upstairs in the grand lobby, Olivia walked in like she was the star of a primetime drama, black sequin dress hugging every curve, oversized sunglasses covering half her face, footsteps confident as if the whole place had been designed solely for her entrance. Trailing behind was Theo, her fiancé, tall, polished, eyes scanning the space with the calm precision of someone in tech. With them were his parents, Eleanor and Mr. Charles Wentworth, people who had learned to read rooms with inherited ease. Olivia led the group down the main hallway, chattering nonstop. "This room will be the main reception. I've requested all new LED lighting. Oh, the staircase, thinking white lilies cascading all the way down. My sister really likes that stuff. She's got kind of a classic thing." "And who owns this place?" Eleanor asked, her voice soft but carrying weight. Olivia faltered for half a beat. My sister, but I really help manage a lot. I oversee the big events." I picked that exact moment to descend the stairs, each step echoing on the hardwood, deliberate and sharp. No introduction needed. The room paused as I appeared. "Welcome to Luminos Gallery," I said, locking eyes with Olivia's stunned expression. "I'm Sophia Bennett, owner and executive director of this estate." Theo blinked like he hadn't heard me correctly. Eleanor nodded slowly, a faint smile tugging at her lip. "A pleasure, Miss Bennett. You've made quite an impression." Olivia froze, uncertain how to react. For the first time in her life, she had no words. "You didn't tell me you'd be here today," she said quietly, voice dry. "I don't need permission to show up where I belong," I replied, eyes still on her future mother-in-law. The energy in the room shifted. Charles took a step back, scanning the lobby as if recalibrating everything he thought he knew. "You built this yourself?" he asked, voice low and direct. "Brick by brick," I said. "It started as an abandoned warehouse. I spent 3 years restoring it, got through 2 recessions and countless sleepless nights. Now Luminos Gallery is one of the premier art destinations in the Southwest." Theo turned to Olivia, brows furrowing. "I thought you said you ran the place," Olivia stammered. I just meant I help out. She's busy, so I handle small things." I didn't answer. I turned to Mara, who had approached from behind. "Mara, would you please escort the Wentworths to the East Courtyard for afternoon tea? I'll join shortly." "Of course," Mara said with a pleasant smile, gesturing for them to follow. Olivia lingered, face flushed with confusion. "What are you doing?" she whispered, frantic. I stepped closer, leaned down, and whispered back, "Olivia, I don't need to bring you down. You're doing a brilliant job all by yourself." She stood frozen as I walked away. The sunlight danced across the stone path leading to the courtyard. Glasses clinked softly amid birdsong in the afternoon air. Eleanor sat with perfect posture, lifting her teacup, her thoughtful gaze fixed on me. "My daughter could learn a lot from you," she said. "Not for your wealth, but for how the world quiets when you enter a room." I smiled, completely steady, not proud, just finally ready for this moment. I'd waited long enough. 3 days after the party, Luminos Gallery returned to its usual rhythm. Fresh orchids adorned the grand lobby table, canvases were hung perfectly, and the skylight still cast its soft glow, as if it hadn't just witnessed a silent upheaval. I was in my office, a cup of warm chamomile tea beside me, when Mara walked in. "I just got an email from the Wentworth Group," she said calmly. "They thanked us for their experience at Luminos and requested to reserve the East Courtyard for their next quarter's private event. This time, they asked to work directly with you." I wasn't surprised, nor was I thrilled. Everything was arriving exactly when it was meant to. Olivia, on the other hand, was different. That evening, she posted a video on social media. No background music, no filter, just a still frame, dim lighting, and a face with barely any makeup. She stared into the lens for a long moment before speaking. "I know a lot of people are waiting to hear what I have to say after everything, but honestly, I don't have much to say, except it happened so I was wrong. Wrong for thinking I could lean on an image without ever building anything real, and even more wrong for not respecting the one person who always held things together behind the scenes. I didn't watch the whole thing, not because I was angry, but because I didn't need more words. I'd heard enough over the past 30 years. I turned off my phone, placed it face down on the desk, and looked out the window where the golden light of evening soaked the treetops in the yard. A week later, I received a single text from my mother. No exclamation mark, no emojis. Can you come for dinner this Sunday? I'm making your favorite stew. I read the message, paused for a few seconds, then put the phone down. No reply, no anger, no hesitation. I didn't need a dinner to prove I was loved. I once thought hard work and sacrifice would make my family truly see me, love me for me, not my utility. But some doors stay shut, not because you're lacking, but because they're not yours. That night, I skipped my parents' house, poured red wine, opened my patio doors, and let the breeze fill my glowing Santa Fe home. Jazz played softly as I sat on the floor, feet on a chair, embraced by stillness that felt free, not lonely. Fees and others' apologies. It's refusing to twist yourself for those blind to your worth. I walked away, not from lack of care, but from newfound self-love. I'm Sophia Bennett, not a wallet, not a shadow, but the woman who built Luminous Gallery, owing no apologies to prepare the twism sits on my desk. Mara sees its potential. I nodded. We'll scout next week. You can't choose your origins, but you can choose your home. A place of real laughter, unweaponized silence, where I'm whole. That's enough, Benedy taught me. Stop sacrificing for those who don't see you. Peace comes when you live for yourself. Family is where you're free to be you, and if it doesn't exist, build it. How did Sophia's story resonate with you? Share your feelings below and join us for more raw stories of life and family.